My parents didn't ask if my sister could move into my house. They told her she was already moving in. But when my home security system lit up at 2 a.m., I realized they weren't just coming for a guest room, they were coming for everything I owned. I'm about to show you exactly why you should never give your family a key just for emergencies, because what I caught on camera changed my life forever. If you've ever had family treat your hard work like their personal inheritance, this story is for you. The notification on my phone didn't just vibrate, it felt like a warning shot. I was 300 miles away on a business trip, staring at a grainy black and white feed of my own front porch. There they were, my mother, my father, and my sister, Chloe. They weren't carrying suitcases for a weekend visit. They were carrying boxes, a television, and even a floor lamp. My heart hammered against my ribs as I watched my father slide a key into my deadbolt. A key I had given him 2 years ago when I bought this house, under the strict promise it was only for gas leaks or lost keys. He didn't look like a man helping a daughter move. He looked like a man taking possession of a prize. Chloe was laughing, pointing at my smart doorbell as if it were a joke. I sat in my hotel room, frozen, watching the people I trusted most walk into my private sanctuary at an hour when only thieves operate. This wasn't a family helping each other out. This was an invasion. The entitlements started long before that night, but I was too blind to see the patterns. Growing up, Chloe was the creative spirit, which was my parents' code for someone who never held a job for more than 3 months and spent every cent on festivals and fast fashion. I was the reliable one, the daughter who worked 2 jobs in college and saved every penny to buy a modest fixer-upper in a quiet neighborhood. My parents, Robert and Diane, viewed my success not as a point of pride, but as a resource. Whenever Chloe ran out of money or got evicted, the phone calls would start. "Be a big sister," they'd say. "You have so much and she has so little." They treated my bank account like a community chest and my home like a backup plan. I thought I was being a good daughter by keeping the peace, but I was actually just funding my own replacement. The moment I started earning a decent salary, I became the family's unofficial safety net, and Chloe became the professional acrobat who knew I'd always be there to catch her. 2 weeks before the security system lit up, we had a family dinner that I now realize was a scouting mission. Chloe had lost her apartment again, claiming her landlord was unreasonable for wanting rent on time. My mother leaned across the table, her eyes moist with forced emotion. "She just needs a stable environment to get back on her feet," she whispered. I told them straight out that my house was too small and that I valued my privacy. I thought the matter was settled. I even offered to help Chloe look for a studio apartment. But my father just hummed and looked at his plate, and Chloe didn't even argue. They didn't push back because they had already decided the answer was yes. They just didn't feel the need to include me in the decision. They waited until they knew I was out of town for my quarterly conference, believing that once Chloe was physically inside and her belongings were unpacked, I would be too kind to kick her out. They counted on my guilt to override my boundaries. Back on the security feed, the front door swung open. I watched through the interior camera I keep in the hallway. They didn't go to the guest room. They went straight for my master suite. Chloe threw her bags onto my bed, the very bed I had worked 60-hour weeks to afford. My father started unhooking my computer monitors in the home office, muttering about how Chloe needed a workspace for her new blog. My mother was in the kitchen, opening my cabinets and making a face at my choice of coffee. It was the most violating feeling I have ever experienced. It wasn't just the physical space, it was the total disregard for my life. They were rearranging my world to fit the person who had never contributed a single brick to the house I built. I picked up my phone to call them, my hand shaking so hard I almost dropped it. When my father finally answered, his voice was breezy, as if he were just calling to check the weather. "Oh, we're just getting Chloe settled," he said. "We knew you'd understand once you saw how much better she's doing." I told him to get out immediately, but the gaslighting began instantly. "Don't be hysterical," my mother yelled in the background. "You're acting like a stranger, not a sister. It's just for a few months until she finds her way." I realized then that words were useless. They didn't respect my no because they didn't respect me. They saw me as an extension of their will, a tool to solve the problem of their favorite child's incompetence. I hung up the phone and called a local locksmith I knew from the neighborhood. I told him it was an emergency and that I needed the locks changed right then and there. Then I called the police non-emergency line. It felt like I was betraying my own blood, but as I watched Chloe trying on my clothes in my bedroom on the camera feed, I realized the betrayal had started the second they turned that key. I told the dispatcher that people were in my house without permission and that I was monitoring them via a remote security system. When the police arrived, the scene on the camera was pure chaos. My parents were outraged. They kept waving the spare key at the officers, screaming that they were the homeowner's parents and that they had legal access. The officers, bless them, were calm. They asked for my phone number and called me directly. On speakerphone, with the police and my family listening, I stated clearly, I did not give them permission to be there tonight. They are trespassing. I want them removed from the property, and I want the locksmith to secure the house. My mother's scream was so loud it distorted the microphone. She called me a monster, a disgrace to the family name, and promised that I would never be welcome in their home again. Chloe was crying, those perfect practice tears she used whenever she wanted something. But the police didn't care about the drama. They told my family they had 10 minutes to pack their things and leave or they would be taken into custody. I watched them leave in the dark, dragging their boxes back to the driveway like defeated soldiers. My father looked at the smart doorbell one last time, his face twisted in a sneer of pure hatred. He knew he had lost his leverage. The locksmith arrived 20 minutes later, and I stayed on the line with him until he confirmed that every entry point had been rekeyed and the old keys were useless. I spent the rest of the night in that hotel room, unable to sleep, scrolling through the saved clips of them invading my home. The psychological weight was immense. It felt like I had lost my entire family in a single evening. But as the sun began to rise, that feeling of loss started to be replaced by something else. Peace. For the first time in my life, I had actually protected myself. I wasn't the reliable one anymore. I was the one who couldn't be played. The fallout was predictable. The family group chat exploded. Aunts, uncles, and even cousins I hadn't spoken to in years started messaging me telling me I was cold-hearted for making my sister homeless in the middle of the night. My parents sent me a bill for the gas they used driving to my house and the emotional trauma I had caused Chloe. They tried to paint me as the villain in every version of the story they told. But I had the footage. Every time someone reached out to criticize me, I sent them a 30-second clip of my parents unhooking my computer and my sister going through my closet at 2 a.m. One by one, the messages stopped. It's hard to argue with a video of people acting like burglars in their own daughter's home. The truth is a powerful disinfectant, and once I stopped trying to protect my parents' reputation, their power over me evaporated. Chloe didn't find her way. Within a week, she was back on their couch and they were back to complaining about her mess. But this time, I wasn't the one listening. I blocked their numbers for 3 months to give myself space to heal. I realized that family is a two-way street, and if they didn't respect my home, they didn't respect me. I eventually reconciled with my father on a very limited basis, but he will never have a key to my house again. Chloe still calls me the selfish sister to anyone who will listen, but I've learned that being called selfish is often just the price you pay for having boundaries. My home is my sanctuary again, and the only person who decides who comes through that door is me. If you're struggling with family who thinks your life is theirs to manage, remember, you are not a backup plan. You are the architect of your own life. Setting that boundary was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was also the best. It taught me that people who get angry when you set a boundary are the ones who are benefiting from you having none. I stopped feeling guilty for my success and started enjoying it. My house feels lighter now, not because it's empty, but because the toxic expectations are gone. I've shared the story because I know there are thousands of you out there who are the reliable ones, feeling the weight of your family's failures on your shoulders. It is okay to put that weight down. It is okay to change the locks. You don't owe anyone your peace, not even the people who gave you life. Your home is where you should feel safest, and if you have to call the police to keep it that way, then that's what you do. Stay strong, keep your boundaries, and never, ever give out a spare key you aren't prepared to have used against you.